set in the Philippines, showing a young man named Sung Jae who was being chased by three thugs. It seemed like he had been tortured and was about to be killed for leaking the secrets of their illegal business. Luckily, there were two policemen on patrol, so the thugs didn't chase him anymore. But from a distance, there was a man who got out of the car carrying a knife, and unexpectedly, he killed the policeman and Sung Jae. It was revealed that he was a boss of the thugs named Junkie who ran an online gambling business in the Philippines. Meanwhile, in South Korea, some police officers were raiding drug dealers, but on the other hand, there was one of the dealers tried to escape on his bike, but his motorbike couldn't move. It turned out that one of the officers grabbed the bike from behind and somehow managed to stop it. He is Ma Suk-do. After arresting the dealers, he and the other police went to the dealer's headquarters, which was located on the roof of a flat immediately. Panicked, the dealers immediately hid all the evidence. Meanwhile, the police were still having difficulty opening the locked iron door, and because he couldn't wait anymore, Suk-do finally opened the iron door with their bare hands. After knocking out all the dealers, Suk-do collected all the evidence there. He also found evidence that the dealers were selling illegal goods using online delivery. Coincidentally, several customers were going to have a transaction at that place, so Suk-do and the others hid to wait for the customers, and when the customers entered, they beat them all. In the evening, Suk-do and his team celebrated the success of their mission with dinner at a restaurant, but before that, Suk-do told his subordinates that the owner of the restaurant was a widow whose husband died while serving as a police officer. Therefore, he often invited his subordinates to dinner there to help financially the widow who was raising her child alone. At that moment, Suk-do asked his subordinates about the application the dealers use. According to the information provided, the application was made by a programmer who was none other than Sung Jae, but unfortunately, the police could not ask for his testimony because he had just been found dead in the Philippines, and it seemed that the young man's body was still in the mortuary. The next day, Suk-do and his subordinate, Man Jae, visited the mortuary to ask for complete information regarding Sung Jae's death. The forensic doctor explained that what caused Sung Jae to die was a knife stab that was so deep that it tore his heart. Apart from that, this young man experienced drastic weight loss, indicating that he had experienced extreme conditions like acts of violence. Hearing the doctor's explanation, Suk-do concluded that this case was not an ordinary death. After leaving the place, Suk-do and Man Jae met Sung Jae's mother in the hospital lobby. The woman then told Suk-do that her son had never given her any news since he left for work in the Philippines, and the first news he heard from him after a very long time was the news of his death. She also told him that Sung Jae worked at a company that engaged in stock trading. While crying, she begged Suk-do to find out the cause of her son's death. In another place, seen a businessman named Jung Dong-cheol, the owner of the trading company where Sung Jae worked, as well as Chung Ki's big boss. He had a meeting with his business partner to expand his business. However, his colleagues were worried about the future of his business as he was too ambitious to expand the business at the wrong time. However, Dong-cheol was confident that his plan would be successful. In the Philippines, Dong-cheol had a hidden gambling company that enslaved programmers and app developers like Sung Jae to create their website without being paid. He entrusted Chung Ki to take care of the workers, and even ordered him to kill anyone who disobeyed like Sung Jae. That day, one of Chung Ki's subordinates gave a financial report from the central company. Chung Ki realized that his salary never increased even though he always tried to give the best profit for the company and bring in new members on Dong-cheol's gambling site. In Korea, Man Jae had just received information from the cyber department that the distributor of the drug dealer's app had been arrested. It turned out that Sung Jae was not part of the developer. According to the information obtained, the developer stole the application made by Sung Jae when he was still in college and then turned it into a platform for buying and selling drugs. Man Jae tried to contact the company where Sung Jae worked in the Philippines, but after investigating, the company was a fake company that was used as a cover. According to records at the Philippine legal institution, it turned out that the company had not been operating for a long time. Because came to a dead end, Suk-do contacted Sung Jae's mother to ask for more information, but unfortunately, Sung Jae's mother had killed herself due to severe depression. At the funeral home, one of Sung Jae's relatives gave a letter written directly by the deceased to Suk-do and the police. The letter was a request for the police to find and punish Sung Jae's killer. Seeing this, Suk-do promised to fulfill this request. On the other hand, Chung Ki and his men were going to their rival's online gambling server. On the way, Junkie ordered his men to hack the enemy's server, and because the server suddenly went down, the owner of the gambling business immediately went into a frenzy. At the same time, Junkie ordered his men to destroy their server and kill everyone there. After slaughtering everyone, Junkie and his men took all the hard drives from the server. He then contacted Don Cheadle to report the results of his work. From the hard drives he stole, Junkie succeeded in stealing 300,000 member data belonging to competitors. Don Cheadle then said that if Junkie could get 100,000 new members, his wages would be increased by 10%, and without thinking twice, Junkie agreed to the offer. At the same time, Sukdu and his men went to the cyber department to look for other clues regarding the drug transaction app. In that place, they got information from one of the cybercrime experts named Jisoo. It was revealed that Sonjae once created an online gambling website when he first worked in the Philippines. When Jisoo wanted to access the website, it suddenly deleted all the data there, resulting in Jisoo having difficulty investigating it further. Upon returning from the cyber department, Sukdu met his superior, Tae-soo, then persuaded him to immediately form an anti-online gambling division so that this case could be resolved quicker. And although Tae-soo disagreed with the idea, he finally complied with it. Sukdu and his team, consisting of some detectives and experts from the cyber department, including Jisoo and her colleague, Namsoo, without wasting any time, immediately planned to investigate the online gambling case and the mystery of Sungjae's death. Not long after, Namsoo managed to find a website called Emperor Casino, which was suspected to have something to do with Sungjae's place of work. To investigate it further, Man-jae tried to access the website, but it turned out that he had to get approval from the admin by making a deposit first, and because it needed quite a lot of money, Sukdu had a more effective way. He then invited Tae-soo to meet his acquaintance at a nightclub, but Jisoo asked permission to come along with Sukdu, because since working at the police station, she never carried out field duties. When they arrived at their destination, they were blocked by thugs, and immediately, Sukdu beat them all up. After that, he immediately asked for money from their boss, who was none other than his acquaintance. After accepting the money, the thug's boss apologized for what his lackeys had done. In another place, Junkie visited his subordinate named Yu Seong and told him to cancel sending the gambling money to Don Cheadle because he had broken his promises to him too many times. Apart from keeping all his money, Junkie and his subordinates would also go to Korea to ask for his rights from Don Cheadle. That evening, Sukdu and his team were having dinner together while discussing the progress of the case they were investigating. Amid the conversation, Namsoo said that they had to understand how online gambling works to make the investigation easier. However, because time was limited, Tae-soo told Sukdu to contact his acquaintance who knew about gambling, and without thinking twice, he knew it had to be Yi-soo, the so-called gangster who kept failing in building his business. He often became an informant who helped Sukdu in various cases. Short story, Sukdu met Yi-soo at a gambling place. Apparently, after failing to build an online gambling business, Yi-soo tried his luck in the arcade gambling business, and without further ado, Sukdu forced him to go to the police station. But because Yi-soo refused, he threatened to damage Yi-soo's Ferrari. Yi-soo was forced to go with him. At the police station, Yi-soo explained that some online gambling website owners often kidnap skilled programmers and then force them to create gambling websites without being paid a penny so they didn't have to bother spending money. He also explained about the Emperor Casino website, which had been his inspiration to build an online gambling business, because according to the information he got, their income can reach 20 million a day. What was worse was that the owner of Emperor Casino had monopolized the business and often hired mercenaries or gangsters to destroy their competitors' server warehouses. Even Yi-soo became a victim of their cunning. Once everything was clear, Sukdu told Yi-soo and Jisoo to investigate one of the gambling places related to the Emperor Casino, and so that they wouldn't be suspected, the two decided to disguise themselves as lovers. They would join the game like other visitors. Amid the game, Yi-soo pretended to be frustrated because he lost a bet to lure the online gambler owners to the place, and not long afterward, a person offered him to join as a member at Emperor Casino, and Yi-soo used that chance to dig up more information. However, because of his carelessness, he accidentally let slip his real intention, which made the person suspicious and immediately ran away. Fortunately, Sukdu and his team managed to catch the person and managed to get very useful information for their investigation. The man told the police that he was ordered by someone named Yu Seong to invite people to play on their website. The next day, Sukdu went to the airport to look for Yu Seong because it was reported that the person would come to Korea to meet his boss. After waiting for a long time, the man Sukdu was looking for showed up, and they followed him secretly. Not long after, they finally arrived in front of a clothes store which was used to cover up Yu Seong's illegal business. Without wasting more time, Sukdu ordered his team to arrest him, but it turned out that Yu Seong already knew that he was being watched by the police. He got into the car behind the store, not realizing that the car belonged to the police. Meanwhile, Chung Ki and his men had arrived in Korea. They visited Dong Cheol's private villa to ask him to increase his paycheck, but Dong Cheol was evasive and didn't want to do that. He reasoned that he was focusing on expanding his crypto business, so he needed a lot of capital. But he promised to give a big bonus if Chung Ki and his subordinates were willing to help him in the business, and even though he had been lied to many times, Chung Ki still tried to be positive and trusting Dong Cheol, but this time, he threatened to kill him if he lied. At the same time, Sukdu and his team were interrogating Yu Seong regarding Emperor Casino. From the results of the investigation by the cyber team, Jisoo explained that Yu Seong's clothing shop was only a cover for laundering money from online gambling. Unfortunately, she couldn't prove that Yu Seong was involved in Emperor Casino. On the other hand, Yu Seong didn't want to open his mouth, because if he dared to leak information about Dong Cheol, he would definitely be killed. Somewhere else, Dong Cheol sent his subordinate, Jae-hyuk, to bribe a crypto reviewer so that he would pass Dong Cheol's crypto coins from security checks. He bribed the man with a lottery ticket worth $2 million, but as an honest reviewer, the man immediately rejected it outright. Chung Ki, who was tasked with looking after Jae-hyuk if unexpected things happened, was fed up with Dong Cheol, so he decided to finish off Jae-hyuk in front of the man. With the killing of Jae-hyuk, Dong Cheol's plans fell apart. After killing Jae-hyuk, Chung Ki gave the lottery ticket to the crypto reviewer, and this time, he was forced to accept it because he was afraid of being killed by Chung Ki. Then Chung Ki contacted Dong Cheol and said that he had killed Jae-hyuk and planned to throw the body at Dong Cheol's place so that the police would accuse him of being the murderer. Even though he was threatened, Dong Cheol wasn't even slightly worried. Apparently, he would take advantage of Yu Seong, who had just been arrested by the police, to frame Chung Ki and his men. He had sent a lawyer who would persuade Yu Seong to report Chung Ki as the owner of the Emperor Casino. That way, he would escape charges while Chung Ki would be thrown in prison. Hearing that threat, Chung Ki and his men went straight to the police station to finish off Yu Seong. And when they got there, Chung Ki diverted the police's attention by ordering dozens of meals via various online deliveries. As a result, the police station was in a panic because of the deliverymen. While the police were busy with them, Chung Ki went into the interrogation room and immediately killed Yu Seong. Unfortunately, the police showed up only when Yu Seong was already dead. On the other hand, Dong Cheol was at the scene of Jae-hyuk's murder, so as not to be dragged into this case, he ordered his subordinate Kwon to move the body. Jae-hyuk went to Yu Seong's place so that the police would assume that Chung Ki, Yu Seong, and Jae-hyuk killed each other for money. The next day, customs officers found Jae-hyuk's body in a container belonging to Yu Seong's company. After that, the body was transferred to the mortuary to investigate the cause of his death. According to the forensic doctor, the stabs on Jae-hyuk's body were very similar to the wounds on Sung Jae and Yu Seong, meaning that they were killed by the same person and most likely related to the online gambling case which was being investigated by the police. In another place, Chung Ki and his subordinate, Ji-hoon, were having dinner at a restaurant. They saw a television broadcast that reported the discovery of Jae-hyuk's body. Seeing this, Chung Ki was very angry with Dong Cheol for trapping him. He then contacted Dong Cheol and threatened to kill him if things got worse. Dong Cheol was so afraid that he told Kwon to immediately kill Chung Ki. In the evening, Sukdu and Man Jae went to an event held by Dong Cheol's company to gather information from Dong Cheol's colleagues, but by accident they got on the same elevator with Chung Ki and his subordinates. They were suspicious of each other until finally, Chung Ki and his men lured Sukdu and Man Jae out of the elevator and then split up to confuse the two. When Sukdu went into the toilet, he was attacked by Ji-hoon. Fortunately, he was no match for Ji-hoon, but when he was about to finish Ji-hoon off, Sukdu was attacked by another Chung Ki's lackey. On the other hand, Man Jae looked overwhelmed when facing Chung Ki, who was an expert in using a knife. Fortunately, Man Jae's life was saved by the arrival of the janitor who was about to do her job. Seeing her, Junkie immediately held her hostage and threatened to kill her if Suk-do didn't stop beating his men. Of course, Suk-do was forced to surrender for the sake of the janitor's safety. But then Junkie stabbed her in the neck and ran away. The police interrogated one of Chunkie's men who was caught in the toilet, but because he was being rude and didn't want to open his mouth, Suk-do beat him up to get milk information from him. He then asked his colleague about Man-jae and the janitor. Fortunately, both had been treated and would recover soon. Man-jae even went straight to the police station after receiving treatment. Not long after, Jisoo managed to find the identity of Chunki and Ji-hoon, who apparently had served the country as a member of the special forces, but they were both fired for massacring civilians. After their dismissal, they were recruited by Dong Cheol to join the online gambling business as managers. Shortly after, Suk-do was summoned by the regional police chief, who urged him to immediately resolve the online gambling case, and if they cannot resolve it within 24 hours, then the case would be transferred to another department. That night, Suk-do went to his usual restaurant to calm himself down after a very difficult mission. He then read the will from Sung-jae's mother he had not been able to fulfill. Suddenly, Tae-soo and the rest of the team joined him. According to them, a team should stick together so they can carry out their mission. On the way from the restaurant, they saw a group of thugs beating up some store owners. Seeing that, Suk-do, who had been holding up his anger, finally had enough and beat them all. After that fight, Suk-do suddenly remembered the rumors that Emperor Casino monopolized the business to become the only online gambling website in the world. At this moment, he thought of creating a rival website to outwit Dong Cheol. Meanwhile, in another place, Dong Cheol was in his private villa to avoid attacks from all threats. He told Kwon to immediately catch Chung-ki before he could harm his company. Long story short, Kwon and his men arrived at Chung-ki's hideout, and without thinking, he immediately deployed his troops to Chung-ki and Ji-hoon. Unexpectedly, Chung-ki and Ji-hoon were able to crush all of Kwon's troops with high-level wrestling skills. In the end, Kwon was cornered. Chung-ki then invited him to work together to finish off Dong Cheol. Then after that, they would equally divide all of Dong Cheol's property. Pressured, whether he liked it or not, he had to accept the offer. At the police station, Suk-do begged Tae-soo to let him continue the investigation, but unfortunately, the anti-online gambling division had been disbanded. Hearing this, he was determined to enter the room of the higher-ups to ask for permission directly. He was even willing to kneel for it. Seeing his persistence, the police chief finally gave one last chance to Suk-do and his team. He only wanted the case to be resolved quickly. Without wasting more time, Tae-soo and Suk-do gathered their team to develop the ultimate plan. And this time, Suk-do proposed that Jisoo and Nam-soo create a gambling website and pretend to be competitors for Emperor Casino, while the rest of the team would attack Dong Cheol's server warehouse. So that this mission could run smoothly, Suk-do asked Jisoo for help because he had a lot of experience in the world of gambling. At first, Jisoo refused because he didn't get any benefits. As a result, Suk-do gave him a police badge, saying that from that day on, he officially became a partner of the Seoul police who was ready to eradicate crime. He also said that the badge was respected by other police. Not only respected, his entire criminal record would also be automatically erased. Hearing this, Jisoo immediately agreed to help him. Afterward, Jisoo allowed the police to use his gambling place as a server warehouse for the gambling website they were going to create. Then Suk-do invited him to go to the Philippines on a mission to destroy Dong Cheol's server. They needed directions because the server warehouse was in a remote area. But before that, Jisoo had to pretend to be a businessman who would open a new casino there so as not to arouse suspicion. When they got to the location, Jisoo immediately visited an unused warehouse and turned it into a casino. On the other hand, Suk-do and Tae-soo monitored Jisoo from Seoul. Somewhere else, Dong Cheol looked happy because Kwon managed to catch Chung-ki. Not realizing that Kwon had conspired to betray him, he pointed his gun at Chung-ki, who was standing freely without being handcuffed or tied. However, it turned out that the gun was deliberately jammed, which made him very panicked. Seeing this, Chung-ki took advantage of the moment to beat him up. Then, Kwon approached Dong Cheol and killed him. After that, Ji-hoon told Chung-ki that there was a new gambling website that could be a threat to Emperor Casino. Therefore, he ordered all his employees in the Philippines to hack and destroy the server warehouse belonging to the new website. On the other hand, the police prepared to face Chung-ki's henchmen with the help of the Philippine police. Fortunately, they were enough to arrest them all. Meanwhile, Yi-soo and Man-jae led the raid on Chung-ki's server warehouse. After they managed to enter, Nam-soo tried to close it permanently. But unfortunately, Chung-ki had changed the admin password and tightened security. Not refusing to give up, Nam-soo finally managed to trace the website data, which had been moved to Dong-cheol's company website. On the other hand, Suk-do finally got Dong-cheol's. Meanwhile, Chung-ki, Ji-hoon, and Kwon were on their way there. Without wasting more time, Suk-do rushed there to arrest the two. Unfortunately, they both arrived at the villa and immediately took all the hard drives and online gambling website member data. Chung-ki said that he would not take Dong-cheol's money because he just needed the website so Kwon and his men could enjoy all the money there. Of course, Kwon agreed with it, but when they were busy collecting the money, Suk-do and the police came to arrest them. After paralyzing Kwon, Suk-do received information that Chung-ki and Ji-hoon were heading to the airport, so he rushed to arrest them. Upon arrival at the airport, he immediately got into the plane and asked all the passengers to get out. After that, he finally faced Chung-ki and Ji-hoon. Even though Chung-ki was stronger, Suk-do was still able to beat him. Not long after, the airline asked K-soo to take responsibility for the cancellation of the flight. Seeing that, Suk-do quietly left so as not to have anything to do with the airline. After everything was over, the police arrested Chung-ki and all of his men. They would be punished according to existing regulations. The next day, Suk-do and his team visited the grave of Sung-jae's mother to pay their respects. Apart from that, Suk-do also wanted to convey that he and his team had succeeded in catching her son's killer. He then prayed that Sung-jae and his mother could finally rest in peace. Shortly after, when they were about to leave the cemetery, Yi-soo contacted Suk-do and said that he had just been arrested by the police, even though he had already shown his badge. Hearing this, Suk-do could only laugh because the badge he gave was just an FDA badge, meaning he had tricked him.